Good morning, seniors. Going to try to give you a run through of this week's material and kind of an understanding of where we are right now. Hope you guys are all doing well. What we would normally be doing is focusing on our project proposal paper. And so what the project proposal tries to do is find a problem in education and look for a way to solve it. And so if you did some of the material from last week that was optional, you got to look at a video from Ken Robinson, an article from Kenneth Ginsburg, and some stuff to start to think about. This is how we teach, this is why we teach, this is what education is supposed to do. So ideally, you guys are taking an opportunity to reflect on your learning, what has worked for you, what hasn't worked for you. It's kind of an ironically perfect time as looking at the challenges with distance learning, ways that the district could do it differently. So what I'm going to try to do is walk you through the material for this week and give you an understanding of how to do it. Before I go into that, let me answer a couple key questions about work and turning it in and what's expected of you. About 70 of you guys have turned in your resume, and that's great. It wasn't required, but what's happened is people who've turned it in, I've given them feedback and a grade, and that grade is just an indication of what you would have gotten had we turned it in for a real grade. Kids have asked, can I turn it back in? Can I do that? Can I do revisions? Can I do any of that stuff? Yes, you absolutely can. Additionally, beyond that, you saw the future focus rough draft up. It has those 4 questions for you to answer, which is ultimately a part of your senior project. So as you look to answer that, it's kind of a start to the overall, what have I learned from Del Norte? Do I view myself as a future focused individual? That again was that typed double spaced over 1 page in length draft. A couple people have turned that in. That'll be the same way. I'll give you feedback. I'll give you a placeholder grade. One, it tells me that I've graded it, so the little number pops up and says it's done. And 2, it lets you know how quality your work was. As far as we know, it looks like we would move to real digital learning in what would be the 4th week off, which is 2 weeks from now. So right now, the entirety of this week's stuff is optional. If you don't do any of it, you can jump right in when it does become required and start up there. Those of you who are doing it right now are just essentially getting a chance to get some assistance while other people are getting equity and getting access to their information. Okay. So that being said, let's go ahead and look at the stuff for this week. So this is my homepage on MyConnect. And for those of you unfamiliar with how to navigate my homepage, both this classwork calendar or this assignments button will take you to the same place. So if you click there and you go ahead and click on March, what you're going to see is all the work from last week. And at the top of each one of the days, you see this bolded information, and that bolded information intends to try and kind of let you know how to access the material below it. Hopefully you had a chance to watch that YouTube video that Ms. DiCaprio and I did on interview skills. If there's more stuff that you'd like to know, please feel free to send me an email, a DM, hit me up on Twitter, whatever works for you. So now let's take you down to this week and let's move day by day. All right, so this first document here is going to give you basic instructions for the unit, and it talks to you about selecting good articles or pieces to work from that would help you with your thinking. What it's then going to do is kind of tell you what to do with the article. There's a worksheet right here to do the breakdown. And then it walks into the next assignment, which is a KWL chart. What KWL stands for is know, want to know, and learn. The know is what you currently know about the field of education. The want to know is the questions that you have or the things you want to get answered. And the learned is the things that you've learned from the videos of the article last week, or you learned from the other people's discussion board posts. You say to yourself, what discussion board post? I tell you this one that's linked right here, which would take you over to this discussion board. It gives you some information about how to conduct yourself well in a discussion board and 5 or 6 questions to answer. Same sort of way as when we do any kind of normal journal, respond to as many or as few as you want, respond to your peers, be an observer. I would really encourage you to engage with the discussion board to remember that other people are out there and they still exist, and a chance to still benefit from one another's learning. So if we come back to the calendar, Tuesday is kind of an interesting day. We were supposed to do free play during this unit. And so that's usually a chance when some of us play board games, handball, kickball, do puzzles, draw, any of that kind of stuff. In an era of social distancing, it's a little bit different. So what I would encourage you is to maybe, FaceTime or Zoom or Skype some of the friends and do a drawing assignment, play an instrument together, just do something that gets some form of social interaction. Figure out how you want to get a game of cards going or any of that kind of stuff. If you have siblings, that's great because you can still play in the home with them and do that kind of stuff. There's some questions that it gives you to answer about the way you play and things of that nature. It also asks you to complete a worksheet down on the bottom in regards to a second article. So you can refer back to Monday and thinking about different articles, videos, or other things to look at. And ultimately, what these worksheets are doing is sorting the information for you in an effort to allow you to kind of digest it and ultimately be able to work with it for your paper. If you took a look last Friday on the calendar, there was information about the project proposal, a sample one written by me, and directions. And then what you're going to see down here on the calendar on Wednesday are two great examples from Caitlin Cow and Anya last trimester of really strong papers for what that final product would look like. Wednesday, I've provided the article for you. It's a really interesting one from Marion Brady, and it discusses how school really hasn't changed over the last 100 years. For some of you, it might finally start to poke some holes in real challenges in the educational system. And then there's a little walkthrough for the breakdown there. Thursday, ironically, is a day you might want to take a look at before Monday if you're having a problem finding great articles. There's this really interesting, it's not really a meme, but it kind of has the format of a meme that teaches you how to Google search for academic content and ways to refine your Google searching. And then there's another pretty cool video from Dr. Stuart Brown from the National Institute of Play and him talking about kind of the real scientific ethos-based value of play in general. So that's pretty interesting. And there's also some resume review notes based on first drafts. And then as you look at Friday, this is a really awesome document here, this project proposal planner. What it's going to do for you is it basically kind of lines out each of the questions. And I would really argue that it would have been a document if you weren't in class in general that would have helped you stay up to date on it. And so it's going to break the project down into smaller parts and allow you to tackle it bites at a time. For those of you who need something to do during this time, it would pretty much delineate out the entire project. So if you wanted to knock it out, it could really help you with that. And it also parcels it out to individual pieces that might work tremendously for you. A lot of you are going to ask really fair questions. Are we still doing the paper? Are we doing the presentation for it? When is it going to be due? A lot of questions that I can't give you direct answers towards. So why am I doing this, Mr. Navarez? You are doing this, one, to keep that learning process going. Again, it's an entirely optional thing. Two, to take advantage of the support and the help while it's there, because any work that you would be doing now when, let's say, less students are doing it, I have a greater chance to get to you in a stance of one-on-one support rather than we kick into full distance learning and all 120 of you are looking for that support. And three, it's a pretty valid overall paper, and the fact that project proposals are essentially business proposals trying to drum up money for you and things that the majority of you will do in the future. So hopefully that answers your guys' questions for today and at least gives you a rundown of what to do. And we're going to move forward from there. Thanks a lot, guys. Peace.